Breaking Bad, the alternate ending.
What if Gustavo Fring had survived?
In the world of Breaking Bad, one moment changed everything. The iconic scene where Gustavo Fring walks out of Hector Salamanca's room, straightens his tie, and reveals half his face blown away. It was poetic. It was perfect. It was the end of an empire. But what if that bomb never went off? What if the careful, calculated chess master that was Gustavo Fring had seen it coming? What if, in that split second, Gus had made a different choice? Today, we explore an alternate reality, a world where the Chicken Man survived and the consequences rippled through every life in Breaking Bad's universe. This is the story of how everything would have ended differently.
Picture this moment. Gus stands at the doorway of Hector's room at Casa Tranquila. Everything is in place. Hector, his oldest enemy, sits in his wheelchair. The DEA has just left. Tyrus is by his side. This should be Gus's moment of ultimate victory. His revenge, decades in the making, is finally at hand. But Gustavo Fring didn't build an empire by being reckless. He built it by being cautious, by seeing dangers others missed.
As Gus steps toward Hector, something catches his attention. It's subtle, almost imperceptible. The way Hector sits, too calm, too ready. For a man who has lost everything, Hector Salamanca looks too much at peace. Gus's instincts, honed over decades of surviving the drug trade, scream a warning. He stops. He looks at Tyrus. Without a word, something passes between them. And in that instant, Gus makes a decision. He takes one step back, then another. "We're leaving," he says quietly. Tyrus looks confused, but obeys. They turn toward the door.
Behind them, Hector's finger moves toward the bell. Once, twice, 3 times. And then, nothing happens. Or rather, nothing happens to them, because Gus and Tyrus are already out the door, already moving down the hallway when the explosion tears through the room behind them. The blast wave hits them, throws them forward. Gus's body slams against the wall, his head rings, his suit is torn, but he's alive. Tyrus pulls him to his feet. They can hear screams, alarms, chaos erupting around them. But Gustavo Fring, bloodied but breathing, has survived. The question is no longer whether Gus will die. The question becomes, what will he do now that he's been given a second chance? Because Gus knows the truth. Walter White tried to kill him, and Gustavo Fring does not forgive. Walter White waits in his backyard with his family, a gun on the table, expecting either victory or death. When his phone rings, he answers with trembling hands. But it's not good news. It's not Tyrus calling to confirm Gus's death. It's Jesse, and Jesse's voice is panicked. "He's alive! Mr. White, Gus is alive! They're saying the bomb went off, but he got out! We need to run! We need to run right now!" Walt's blood runs cold. Everything he planned, everything he risked, has failed. Gus knows it was him, and now Walt has nowhere to hide. He looks at his family, Skylar, confused and terrified, Junior, asking what's happening, baby Holly in her crib. Walt knows what's coming. Gus won't just kill him. Gus will destroy him. He'll take everything. Within hours, Walt's world begins to collapse. Mike appears at his door, gun drawn. But Mike isn't there to kill him, not yet. "Gus wants to see you," Mike says coldly. "You and the kid. If you run, your family dies. If you cooperate, maybe he shows mercy. Maybe." Walt has no choice. He goes with Mike, and they bring Jesse too. They're taken to the laundry facility, down to the super lab. And there, waiting for them, is Gustavo Fring. His face is bandaged. His suit, usually immaculate, shows signs of the blast.
but his eyes are as cold and calculating as ever. Gus looks at Walter White for a long moment. "You tried to kill me," Gus says quietly. "You murdered my employees. You poisoned a child. You brought chaos into my operation. Give me one reason why I shouldn't end you right now." Walt, desperate, does what he does best. He talks. He reminds Gus of his value. He promises he can still cook. He swears loyalty. He begs. But Gus isn't moved. "You're a brilliant chemist, Walter," Gus says, "but you're also a liability, a cancer, and I remove cancer before it spreads." Gus nods to Mike. This is it. This is the end. But then Jesse speaks up. "If you kill him, you get nothing," Jesse says. His voice shakes, but he stands firm. "Mr. White taught me everything, but he didn't teach me all of it. There are still steps I can't do without him. Kill him and your product drops. Keep us both and you get the best meth in the world." It's a desperate lie, but it's believable enough. Gus considers this. He's a businessman above all else. And killing Walt, while satisfying, doesn't help his bottom line. Gus makes his decision. "You cook," he tells them. "Both of you. But there are new rules. You live in the lab. You don't leave. You see no one. Your families will be watched. If you try anything at all, they die first. You die last. Am I understood?" Walt and Jesse have become prisoners, slaves to the very operation they once thought they controlled. Months pass. Walter White and Jesse Pinkman cook meth in their underground prison. They sleep in small rooms attached to the lab. They eat meals Mike brings them. They never see the sun. For Walt, it's a special kind of hell. The man who entered the drug trade to provide for his family now can't even see them. Skylar is told Walt is on an extended business trip. She knows better. She knows something terrible has happened, but she's powerless to stop it. Jesse, meanwhile, sinks into depression. He cooks mechanically, barely speaking. The weight of what they've become crushes him daily. They tried to kill their boss and failed. Now they're paying the price. But in the silence of the lab, over weeks and months, something begins to shift. Walt and Jesse start talking again, really talking, about their mistakes, about what led them here. And slowly, reluctantly, they begin planning. Not an escape, not revenge, something smarter. Meanwhile, above ground, Hank Schrader continues his investigation. The explosion at Casa Tranquila raised questions. Someone tried to kill a nursing home patient with a bomb. That's not normal cartel activity. Hank digs deeper. He finds connections to Gustavo Fring. He finds evidence of money laundering through Los Pollos Hermanos. He's getting close. Too close. Gus realizes the DE is circling. He knows that eventually they'll find something. He's survived assassination, but he might not survive federal investigation. So Gus makes his own plan. He'll retire, disappear, start fresh somewhere else with his fortune intact. But first, he needs to tie up loose ends. That includes Walt and Jesse. Gus visits the lab one last time. He tells Walt and Jesse that their services are no longer needed. The operation is shutting down. "I'm offering you a choice," Gus says. "Take the money I'm giving you and disappear. Use the vacuum repairman. Start new lives. Or refuse and be eliminated as a security risk. You have 24 hours to decide." It seems too good to be true, and Walt doesn't trust it. He suspects that regardless of their choice, Gus plans to kill them. They know too much. They've seen too much. That night, in the lab, Walt and Jesse have their final conversation. "He's going to kill us," Walt says. "The moment we walk out of here, Mike will put bullets in our heads." Jesse nods. He knows Walt is right. But they've been planning for this. For months, while cooking, Walt has been stealing small amounts of chemicals, building a small explosive device. Nothing like the bomb that failed to kill Gus before. Something simpler, something desperate. When Mike comes the next morning to hear their decision, Walt tells him they accept Gus's offer. They'll disappear. They're grateful for the chance. Mike escorts them out of the lab, up the stairs, through the laundry facility, to a van waiting outside. This is it, the moment they've been waiting for. As they step toward the van, Walt drops his bag. Chemicals inside begin mixing. A small explosion erupts. Not enough to kill anyone, but enough to create chaos, smoke, and confusion. In the confusion, Walt and Jesse run. Mike fires after them, but the smoke obscures everything. They make it to the street. They steal a car. They drive. Behind them, sirens wail, because the explosion at the laundry facility has drawn attention, police attention, DEA attention. And when they arrive, they find the super lab. They find everything. Gustavo Fring's entire operation exposed in a single moment. Gus Fring is arrested at the airport, trying to flee to Chile. The evidence against him is overwhelming. His empire crumbles in days. Madrigal Electromotive cuts ties. Los Pollos Hermanos is shut down. The man who survived an assassination cannot survive the law. He's sentenced to life in prison without parole. The Chicken Man will die in a cage. Walter White and Jesse Pinkman disappear. Using the vacuum repair service, Walt becomes someone else. He lives in New Hampshire, alone, dying slowly from his cancer. He never sees his family again. Skylar moves on, raising their children, trying to forget. Jesse starts over in Alaska, working as a carpenter. He's haunted by what he did, who he became, but he's free. Hank Schrader gets the credit for taking down Gustavo Fring. He becomes a hero in the DEA. He never learns that his own brother-in-law was Heisenberg. That secret dies with Walt years later in a cabin in the woods, alone, unmourned. This is the alternate ending, where Gus survives the bomb but loses everything anyway, where Walt escapes death but loses his family forever, where Jesse finds freedom but can never forget the cost. In this version of Breaking Bad, everyone loses, because in the end, there are no winners in the drug trade. Only survivors, and even survival comes with a price too high to pay. The question Breaking Bad always asked was, what is the cost of pride? In the original ending, that cost was death. In this alternate version, the cost is something worse. Living with the consequences. Living with the knowledge of what you became. And that might be the cruelest ending of all.